I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. The guest I have on coming up, the last time he was on, wasn't that long ago, and he said there's more risk in the system now than any time ever. That was Bill Holter. And the risk is starting to bubble out and show itself in ways that are weird, like big price moves in things like silver on the way up and Bitcoin on the way down. We're going to talk about that. Well, let's talk about one of the things he said early on for years ago, that silver would be the thing that blows the system up. Bill Holter, thanks for joining us today. BillHolter.com is the website. Bill Holter, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
So let's start with just the latest signal that there is some severe stress going on in the system, and we'll start with what happened in silver. I've never seen it go up more than $3 in one day, but yet it did on last Friday.
Right, and in a 48-hour period of time, it was up over $5. It's pretty clear, it's pretty obvious that something behind the scenes is breaking. We know that the lease rates have exploded. We know that the borrow rates on SLV have exploded. We also know for the last, 5, 6, 7 years, silver's been in a deficit. With the Green New Deal, there's so much silver that needs to be used for solar, for all the applications. And at this point, you're looking at a $400 million or 400 million ounce deficit on an annual basis, and the global production's 850 million ounces. So, in order to bring this market back into equilibrium supply-wise, they've got to either increase supply by 400 million ounces or decrease demand by 400 million ounces. And the way to do that is you raise the price. The price will ultimately bring it to equilibrium, but what is that number? Is it 100? Is it 200? Is it $500 an ounce? Who knows? But the number is higher, much, much higher.
I wanted to kind of get into the failure to deliver. You're talking. You brought this up last time briefly. You said, December is the big month, and there are people standing to deliver. I'm paraphrasing, right, but they're standing to deliver at rates we haven't ever seen before. Tell me about that. Are we seeing a big lineup of people standing for delivery, saying, no cash, no, roll it out here. We want the silver. Is that what we're seeing now?
Right. Well, what stood for delivery back in for the month of November? It increased steadily during the month, and then this past Friday, which was first notice day for December on COMEX, the rumor, and I've not seen proof positive of it, but the market is acting as if it's real. The rumor is that somebody is putting a $20+ billion order, which would mean 400 million ounces. And I mean, if that's the case, that order obviously cannot be met, and that will create shark-infested waters. It'll be like piranha.
So that's outrageous. That's just here in the beginning of December. I mean, aren't other people going to say, "Whoa, right, I want to stand for delivery too"? No, I want no, right?
That's what I'm talking about. Piranhas, exactly. If somebody stands for delivery and it looks like it may be difficult for them to get delivery, then everybody's going to stand for delivery because they know that their contracts are worthless. This is something that Jim used to talk about. Jim Sinclair, my past partner. Jim talked about this all the time, that at some point in time, he believed you would see gold bid at $50,000 per ounce, nothing available for sale, but the COMEX futures, $10 an ounce offered and no buyers. And that's the definition right there of a contract that cannot perform. It goes to zero.
Explain that. 50,000 an ounce is the bid, but $10 for a contract. What does that mean?
Well, it means that people want to buy physical metal and nobody willing to sell it. And the powers that be want to sell paper metal and nobody wants to buy it.
And so, what about this silver thing? You've always said that silver would blow up. Let's talk about. Let me just finish this gold thought. I wanted to show this to you real quick because I saw it on Zero Hedge and I thought, wow, that's kind of telling. It's a sponsored post, or it's a paid for post, but still, gold 5,000 an ounce. That's what they're talking about now, 5,000 an ounce. And a couple of years ago, that'll never happen. And now at 4,200 an ounce, whoops.
Right.
Surging flows and market still massively underweight. Gold is only 2.8% of investors' AUM. Imagine at 4.5%. I mean, are they right about this, or are they lowballing it?
Well, Greg, that's a nice headline, a nice chart to show and saying, imagine if it doubled. Well, you've got Goldman Sachs, you've got JP Morgan, you've got all these major brokers out now saying, no, 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 no more 60-40 split for your portfolios. We recommend 60-20-20. In other words, it used to be 60% stocks, 40% bonds. And now the firms are outright publicly recommending 60% stock, 20% bonds, and 20% gold. Can you imagine what the price of gold will? Well, first off, the supply would completely run out. If people follow that and start taking 20% of their portfolios, putting it into gold, that will blow the markets up on its own.
You're any way you cut it, and is this part of people are running towards? Why aren't they running towards Bitcoin or stocks, or of course we're at near record highs for stocks and bonds? And why the big drive for gold? And we're going to get back to silver in a minute, but why the big drive for gold? Do they not trust the collateral? Do they not trust the bonds?
Exactly. What the reason investors are running to gold is because it's the only asset, that and silver, that you can put on your balance sheet that has no liability. It's no one's liability. You don't have to trust anybody. If you have an ounce of gold in your hand, you have proof in your hand that capital, labor, and equipment have already been used to make that coin. Whereas if you put treasury bonds or euro bonds or whatever, you put bonds on your balance sheet, you have to make sure, or you have to worry whether the issuer is going to default or not. Gold can't default. Silver can't default. It's God's money.
Wow. And back to silver, this delivery, what do you suppose is going to happen if that rumor is true that there is a $20 billion order for silver and that they are going to stand for delivery? What is going to happen at the end? What kind of wild price swings could you see in silver and gold too? What do you think could happen?
Well, I think if that gets confirmed, that one day you'll see a huge spike, but markets won't open after that because that will cascade. What'll happen is all the COMEX contracts in both silver and gold will default, and that'll spill over to the rest of COMEX, to the rest of the CME, which has got contracts on U.S. Treasuries, on stocks. They have contracts on everything. But if they default on silver contracts and that spills over to gold, how much trust are you going to have on contracts for pork bellies or for stocks or there's derivatives now on the weather, on temperature. There's derivatives on anything you could imagine that you want to bet on. You can bet on it today.
Boy, I'm gonna talk about my sponsor
and
here.
There's over 2 quadrillion, by the way.
2 quadrillion in derivatives.
In derivatives outstanding.
Wow, what could go wrong, Bill?
Exactly.
Let me talk about my sponsor. This is a deal. I think this is a deal. This is the ivermectin at the Wellness Company. It's an 18 milligram pill. They're selling it with my 15% promo code at about $3 a pill for 18 milligram. If you're seeing this Tuesday night, you can get 25%, additional 10% off, which is unbelievable. If you take a look at places like ivermectin.com, who are very good and have many good drugs that they test for potency and for performance all the time, and for how much you get. This is why I'm comparing ivermectin that the wellness company has to somebody very good. You can't beat it for an 18 milligram pill. You're talking about something that's cheaper than an 18 milligram pill, cheaper than you could buy a 12 milligram pill for. And this is right now with the deal with the Cyber Monday extended sale. Now, if you don't get the extended sale, then you still have 15% off, and it's $3.03 a pill, which is an unbelievable deal for an 18 milligram pill. And the reason why I say it's a deal because it's made in the USA. It is 18 milligrams. It's anti-parasitic. It's anti-inflammatory. It's been used for cancer. Lots of information on cancer for the ivermectin capsules. It also for spike injury, VAX injury caused by overproduction of spike proteins. It binds to spike proteins, removes them from the body. This is an unbelievable deal, folks, especially if you get it on Tuesday night. If not, it's still a deal for an 18 milligram pill at the Wellness Company right here. Promo code is USA Watchdog, but during the Cyber Monday sale, it's 25% off and all kinds of other deals on the site. Back to Bill Holter. I wanted to talk about this, Bill Holter. And I know you're factoring this in, but boy, it's dicey over in Ukraine. And they are really getting ready to light it up. But President Trump, is trying to put the kibosh on the war. And this is Putin saying he's ready for war against Europe if attacks on Russian tankers and energy continue. Now, I think the president is setting him up, and I've had Martin Armstrong on, setting up Europe to say, whoa, you don't want to have a peace plan? Fine. Putin's actually also said that the Europeans are intentionally trying to gum up this peace deal that Trump's trying to do. And so I'm wondering if Trump, and this is what Martin Armstrong says too, that he's saying then you should cut NATO loose. They don't want to have a deal. You should stay out of that war. You'd be the best president ever. What could happen if they do end up having a war in Europe where Russia and France and Germany and Spain and the UK all attack Russia?
Yeah. Well, first off, let's just go back to the let's go back 10 years to 2014. That was basically a U.S. sponsored coup.
Yep.
So what's going on now? We laid the groundwork for it 11 years ago. Now, Putin has finally had enough. I mean, the United States. Again, if you go back and look at a chart of gold, it started moving higher like a tractor in first gear. The day after the United States sequestered $300 billion worth of U.S. treasuries. So basically, we stole their money. Central banks from around the world started offloading treasuries and buying gold. They're trying to move away from the dollar. Now, there's been 4 tankers that have been lit up, 4 Russian tankers that have been lit up, and Putin is saying if it doesn't stop, we're going to attack Europe. And I think you're right, Greg. I think Trump is going to tell, because it's pretty obvious that Europe is trying to get in between and ruin any type of peace deal. I think Trump will walk away from Europe, walk away from NATO, and say, you're on your own.
The reports are that
I think that's the danger.
The reports are that he's threatening to no intel with Germany, no intel with right. Sharing any intel, no weapons. That, listen, you don't do this deal, we're out. And we said that in the White House a while ago. It took him a long time to get out, but you don't sign a peace deal. And Trump said, we're out. And we may be looking at we're out here.
Right. Well, it's simply because they're trying to scuttle the peace deal. I mean, there seems to be good faith on Putin's part. There seems to be good faith. I mean, Trump, I think, wants this war to end. Zelensky's got to be an idiot if he doesn't want the war to end, because his country's being disintegrated. But Europe does not want the peace deal. So if they're going to try to get in the middle of it and try to undermine the peace deal, then, I mean, what other What other avenue does Trump have other than to walk away and say, you're on your own?
I find it hard to believe.
And just remember that Europe has basically no standing armies. I mean, yes, they do, but it's nothing compared to what will come rolling through. If the Russians start come rolling through Europe.
Well, I mean, what would Trump do then? Oh, you don't have a peace deal? Okay. Oh, well, looks like it's nuclear war. I mean, that's what he's going to do? I don't think so. I think it's the writings on the wall. You see Putin saying Europe, not Europe is doing this. I, what would happen to the U.S. economy if he did sidestep this deal? I mean, listen, if Europe gets attacked, the whole world's going to suffer, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, the world is walking a tightrope in so many different areas. I mean, monetarily, the fiat money system looks like it's about ready to implode. From a fiscal standpoint, you've got central bank or not central bank, you've got sovereign treasury after sovereign treasury that is basically upside down, insolvent. So if you get something unexpected like Europe being invaded, uh, markets can't. There's no way markets. My thought process is you'll see markets close.
Wow. Well, Martin Armstrong, in he played the video of Socrates. He said, I'll tell you what. Here's what Socrates says. That he says they think there'll be nuclear war, but it'll be tactical nukes. What happens if all of a sudden that he shoots a missile into the Eiffel Tower, or he shoots a missile into the financial center in and I hope that he doesn't do this. But if he starts hitting some key targets in the European capitals, will they continue to want to? I mean, their bond market would implode, would it not? I mean, the whole thing would just go down.
I think you would see pretty much all bond markets implode. The world is not ready, or financial markets are not ready for anything like that. And I don't think the psyche of the population worldwide is ready for anything like that.
You think that all these, I mean, all these banks over in Europe, I mean, all these, they seem like they're in big trouble. I mean, they have Commerce Bank. They try to merge that bank, and they couldn't do it. And the most systemically dangerous bank in the world, Deutsche Bank, and they never
Right,
retracted that. I mean, that's another whop. The Germany, all the towns they say in Germany, most of them are facing bankruptcy. Barton Armstrong was on
right.
here saying that Germany, the big engine of Europe, is 3 or 4% negative GDP. What should people do? I mean, you're saying that the risk is of the cataclysmic proportions. Am I wrong?
Right. Well, I think, I've spoken about this. I've talked about, failure to deliver leading to a derivatives meltdown. And that's where we're headed. We are headed for a derivatives meltdown. We're headed for market closures. And, I've talked about this many, many times. When people ask me at the end of interviews, so what do people do? You've got to get out of the system. You've got to get your capital out of the system because when the system goes down, your capital is going to go with it. It's going to, the laws are in place. Read the Great Taking. It's 100% real. Those laws are in place on the books. The ink is dry. They did not put those laws on the books not to use them. They put those laws on the books to take everybody's assets. So the way around that is you get your assets out of the system so that there's no intermediary between you and your money. You have it in hand. For instance, with stocks, you want the stock certificates. You don't want to have bank balances. You want to have gold or silver. When your bank goes down, you're going to get bailed in. Uh, you need to, and that's from a financial standpoint. From a life standpoint, you've got to make sure that you've got enough supplies to feed yourself. You've got to make sure you have clean water. You got to make sure you have an energy source. You need some type of community people with you because you can't stay awake 24 hours at a time. You need to plan to get yourself out of the system before this happens. Because once it happens, whatever you have is all you're going to have, and you're in place. You will not be able to alter anything in your living conditions once this happens.
Armstrong says the timing is 2026. That this is going to work through the end of the year, and then then there's also Venezuela, which could be something that Trump will. Who knows if he's cutting a deal with China and Russia, saying we'll stay out of the Ukraine deal, but you got to stay out of Venezuela. You got to stay out of our neck of the woods. Could that happen?
Yeah, yeah. Well, Venezuela, that's interesting on its own. I mean, obviously, that's about their oil. They do have, other reserves. I mean, they have gold reserves in the ground. Uh, it's and understand that the oil revenues have funded the CIA for years, and they really rely on that now because they don't have the Afghanistan poppy fields to give them cash flow. And it's my belief that Trump is trying to squeeze the dark forces, if you will, the black money, the dark money. He's trying to shut that off. They take that or on balance sheet use. In other words, bring it above board. Yeah, we stole their oil, and here's the money we made from it, as opposed to the oil being siphoned off and those funds going, being run through the CIA and funding the CIA.
Well, Alex Newman says there's huge China, Iran, and Russia involvement, and they also, big into voter fraud. Of course, I can understand why Russia, we've been going after them for years in Ukraine, but big voter fraud happening down in Ukraine is the rumor or that I've been
Right.
hearing.
Yeah, and electronically, I mean, it was voter fraud. It aided voter fraud in the United States. It's not just the voter fraud there. It's if you trace it back, some of it's been traced back to Venezuela.
That's something else. What kind of price are we talking about with? I mean, you've come on here before. People go, "Oh, that couldn't happen." But you look at how dire things are, and how we had this big shutdown on what Thursday into Friday, saying that they lost power and whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
you're saying expect more shutdowns, more exploding prices upward. Is that what you're saying?
Well, what they did was the cash market started to take off on Thursday, and basically they pulled the plug. They just shut the exchange down, and they said it was due to a air conditioning cooling failure. Well, my question is, why does as I understand it, other commodities, other contracts were trading. Why is it that it affects gold and silver only, and it doesn't affect other markets?
Oh, good question. Oh, good question. Yeah. You think are they nervous? Are they afraid? And if they are nervous and afraid, what are they afraid of? What are they sitting around in a room talking about that you think that they're saying behind the scenes?
They're afraid of the day where there's an absolute stampede. Understand human psyche. When you're told you cannot have something, you want it even more. And if you're being told that you can't have gold, you can't have silver, you will have an absolute tidal wave moving into the metal. It's like I said, like piranha, like shark infested waters. Once there's blood, once they smell blood, human nature is, if I can't have it, I want it, and I'm going to get it now. And that's what causes the stampede.
Would you be a buyer? I guess. I mean, I hate to tell people to time the market, but I would. It seems to me that if $50 an ounce is what it was, it's a record high 58 something. But if it was $50 an ounce in 1980, 45 years ago, I mean, is that really that much of a record?
Well, $50 was an anomaly back in 1980 because it came from call it under $2. So I mean that was an anomaly. It probably shouldn't have gotten to $50. Uh, Either that or it should have blown up and become priceless and the dollar collapsed then. I mean, that was the first episode after Nixon going off the gold standard. Then they survived that. They survived it in 2011. They survived again in 2021 when there was that short squeeze. Now we've got 5 to 6 to 7 years of physical deficits behind us. And the market knows there's not going to be any and a huge supply that hits this market. If you're asking, should you buy or should you wait? My advice is whenever you have the money, you buy it because that way you're getting your money out of the banking system and into something that cannot bankrupt. It doesn't matter what the price is. You're going to measure your net worth in ounces. You're not going to measure your net worth in dollars or euros or pounds. You're going to measure your net worth in how many ounces of silver, how many ounces of gold you own.
Are we close to this thing? And I want to end with this because we don't have to have war and peace. I mean, your message is pretty clear. Are we getting close to mad? You brought this up when you first did. I thought, oh, that's kind of a wild title, and now I'm looking at it going, well, maybe not so wild. 2 trillion, 2 quadrillion in derivatives, and all this demand on silver and gold, and central banks buying it. And oh my, could we be faced with a little Mad Max scenario at least for a while?
Well, that's where it leads to. Once you get a failure to deliver, then you will have a Mad Max scenario. Failure to deliver will close markets. It will melt down all derivatives. And understand, again, the world runs on credit, and credit runs on faith. And if you break faith and credit hiccups or ceases, then you've got a real problem both in the financial markets and the real economy.
Ooh, boy.
You're asking, are we close? Yeah, of course we're close. You're saying Martin Armstrong says it's 2026. He's probably right, but I would add, we've got to get to 2026 first. And we just had if you want to call it a very big tremor in the metals markets at the end of November. Does the earthquake come in December or does it come in 2026? I don't know. It doesn't matter. If you know what the ending is, you got to prepare for it now while you can.
So we had this shutdown of the market. It was up $3.09 on Friday. You said it was up to $5 over a 24-hour period, around $5. How many more tremors do you think? Are we going to get this every week?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody has a crystal ball. Anybody who says they know when or a price, the biggest joke is when people say, "Oh, well, silver's going to go to $200 and gold's going to go to 14,000 or whatever numbers they use." And I've said this many times. Whatever number somebody is forecasting, I can almost guarantee you it will be laughably low when all is said and done. Because the opposite of zero is infinity.
Woo. I know you've said it in the past too, and I think people are like, oh, come on, can it really be that? You're like plus $100,000 for the price of gold. If you base it on the amount of gold we say we have, the 8,300 tons, right? And your math for that now is it's you did this a year ago. You said it was $125,000 or $30,000 an ounce. Now it's
over 100. It's over 135,000. I haven't done the math in a year or 2 years, but yeah, it's definitely over 135,000 an ounce if we had to pay our debt off with the gold that we supposedly have.
Man, here's the funny thing. People are selling their junk silver. I think that's the dumbest thing that you could ever do.
Yeah, let me explain that, Greg.
Please do.
And junk right now is, I mean, it's the cheapest form you can buy. It's the best form you can buy. But when you go to sell it, you're getting $4 and $5 under spot. Because what's happened is back in the late 1970s and early 80s, the only way for an American to buy silver really was to buy junk silver. So you had these people in the run-up to $50 in 1980. You had them buying silver. You had them buying junk silver.
Anyway, and just so people know what junk silver is, that's any coin 64 and earlier.
Right. Dimes, quarters, and half dollars. 1964 and earlier, they're 90% silver. So you had the public buying silver, and they bought quite a bit back then. Once we got into the 40s, you started seeing some selling. Once we got close to 50, you saw more. You saw more once we got through 50. I think that's beginning to abate now. But what's happening is dealers were saying we're taking in so much, we're not going to spend the capital to hold it and try to resell it. We're just going to send it to a refiner, refine it down, get paid for the silver. So if they're paying $4 or $5 under spot, that's 8 or 10% under spot. What's happening is the refiners are refining it, and that 8 or 10% is going to the wholesalers. Now, what does this mean? It means right now, if you want to sell junk silver, it's a crappy time to sell it. But long term, a lot of this junk silver has been melted down, which go out 6 months to a year from now. Guess what? There's not going to be much junk silver to be had. Then you'll see it at big premiums.
You'd be a buyer of junk silver.
Absolutely. It's the best form that an American can buy. I can buy it for you right now at spot. You find me any form of silver that you can buy at spot. There is none. And not only is it the cheapest form, it is the best form for an American to own. It cannot be counterfeited. It's readily recognizable. It's the smallest denomination, and it's U.S. mint lineage. It's the best silver that an American can own, and you can buy it right now at spot.
Wow, I didn't know I was going to get that. Coming from you, I know you're metal. Just so people know, you are a precious metals broker. You've been one for many years at Miles Franklin. They're a very good company, and this is what you're seeing firsthand in the trenches. You're seeing people making I would say, a dumb mistake of selling too early.
Well, yeah, but understand, Greg, a lot of this was silver that was bought 50 years, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And people are saying, oh, I sat on it all this time. I want to get my dollars out of it. They forgot completely why they bought it in the first place. Although some people bought it in the first place just to make money, to turn a profit. That's not why you buy gold or silver. You buy gold or silver to protect your wealth.
And you're seeing this at Miles Franklin. There, people are selling junk silver.
Some, yes. And I've got to say, the selling that I saw this year, this 2025, I had more clients selling metal than all of my 15 years in the precious metals business combined prior to that.
Wow. Why?
And I'm asking people, and not everyone, but call it 95%, tell me I need the money. I need the money to buy this. I need the money to live on. I need the money for that, whatever. They're not, it's not going into the stock market. It's not going into Bitcoin. People are selling just to support their lives.
What does that tell you?
Well, one thing it tells me is the real economy sucks. The real economy is cratering. And as usual, I mean, the numbers you get out of the BLS are hilarious. I mean, all you got to do is look at cardboard box production, look at traffic in Las Vegas. I mean, there's so many indicators that say this real economy is starting to shrink and shrink pretty hard. But yet, what do we get from the BLS? Everything's fine. And it's not.
Wow. Bill Holter, anything you want to add? Anything you want to add that because people always ask me this. Ask him what we should do. What would you tell people to do? I mean, this is gonna, when this blows, you're gonna be like Gandhi. You're gonna be like, oh my God, he's been saying this for years, and I always thought he was, full of, crap, but he wasn't. I mean, I mean, I have all the respect for you in the world. I think you're right. What would you tell people to do if you could just shake them and say, listen to me?
Well, if you haven't, I mean, I would just say do your best. Do the best you can. Only you know whether you're doing your best or whether you're slacking. Do the best you can to get yourself into a situation where you can provide as much as possible for yourself. You don't want to have to rely on anyone else. You don't want to be forced to rely on a police force. You don't want to have to rely on the water company. You don't want to have to rely on the electric company. I have no idea what's going to work and what's not going to work, but I can tell you there's going to be a bunch of things that don't work, and you're going to have to do it yourself. So just do the best you can. Everybody's going to forget something. And don't kick yourself in the butt for forgetting something because you can't think of everything. One thing I have been telling people to do is go to my website, go to Grizzly's Corner. There's absolutely fabulous articles and links on prepping.
Good.
It's very in depth.
Bill Holter, BillHolter.com. Wow. You've really put a point on the risk in the system that is going to bubble out in failure to deliver. That's where it's going to come out. Nobody trusts the collateral. Nobody trusts the bonds, right?
Yeah, and the problem is there's very little collateral that's unencumbered left. Everything's been borrowed against already. So what do you borrow against next?
That's right. I guess that's why there was an article, and I talked to who did I have on? I had somebody on recently talking about Ray Dalio. Who was it? Ray Dalio and Gunlock, who Bond King Gunlock, Dalio, Mr. Big Bridgewater hedge fund, and they made their money totally different ways, but they both came to the same conclusion. Right? There's no liquidity, and they're both buying gold.
Right. Well, they came around to the conclusion that the Austrian economists have talked about for years. They finally figured it out. When I say finally figured it out, they finally came to that conclusion. It took a while, and they are ahead of the curve because very few are on the curve at this point. Most people think it's not possible, it can't happen, but mathematically, a meltdown in derivatives, which melts everything down, is coming. It's over. Mathematically, it's over.
You're talking about, just so people understand this, Social Security is going to have a problem. Your checks are going to have a problem. Your banks are going to have a problem.
Everything.
Would you have cash? Would you still have dollars, 10s, 20s, 50s? Would you still have that?
But I would. Yes, but I would spend that within the first 2 weeks. I'd spend as much as you can. If you have cash, physical cash, it'll work as a premium for probably the first week or 2 weeks. And then what'll happen is you're going to go to a farmer and you're going to say, here's a $20 bill. I want some eggs and this and that. And the farmer's going to laugh at you and say, I don't take paper. Wow. And of course, they're not going to take Bitcoin either, but that's another story.
Bill Holter, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com. It wasn't a long interview, but it sure was potent and powerful. And I really appreciate you for coming on and laying it out and giving people the warning that they need to hear, which is get ready for rough sailing. It's already collapsed. We're just finding out how it's going to collapse, right?
Right.
Bill Holter, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks again, Bill, and a shout out to my folks here. I got to start with Discount Gold and Silver Trading. If you're going to thinking about buying gold or silver, talk to Melody Cedarstrom. She's as honest as the day is on. I've never had a complaint. It's 800-375-4188. The folks at the satellite phone store, Bill Holter's talking about having power and communications and everything else. These are the folks that can do it with solar power generators and satellite phones and Faraday bags and also Starlink. The number is 855-980-5830, 855-980-5830. Weston Scientific, just don't trap germs, kill them naturally. I have this in every room in my house, paid full price for it, 573-469-5030. Last but not least, the Wellness Company, and I'll tell you, this is a deal. This is a deal any way you cut it. If you don't make the extended Cyber Monday deal at midnight on Tuesday night, you will still have a great deal for 18 milligram pills. It's anti-arthritic, anti-inflammatory. It is a number one drug for vax injury. It's anti-cancer. It's an incredible deal. The ivermectin compounded capsules made in America, 18 milligrams. If you get the deal for Greg Hunter or USA Watchdog, USA Watchdog's a promo code that's 15% off, but the expanded Cyber Monday sale is 25% off. Folks, it's a deal. Period. The end. Thank you again for joining me today on USAWatchdog.com. Really appreciate it. If you want to get a video sent to you, a notification, just hit join at the top, put your name and your email in, and you will get a video every time I come on. I do not sell my list. I will. I'll just send you an email, and I don't resell your list. You will not be spammed at all. Period. The end. And I really appreciate it. So for the sake of the elect, the days will be shortened, says Jesus. Okay. For the sake of the elect, there would be no flesh left if the days were not shortened. So all this is about, you being informed, being basically mentally and physically ready, but above all, spiritually ready. I don't want you to leave that out. Being spiritually, don't give up praying. Don't give up asking for Jehovah for your, divine knowledge, your divine protection, your divine discernment. Don't give any of that up. That's number one. Just make sure you get that and stay close to Jesus. There'll be no flesh left if the days were not shortened. As again, so for the sake of the elect, the days shall be shortened. Be the elect. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com.